Like you, be strong to hold the powers of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one, only one. I was an ordinary boy until I broke the rules. My life destroyed, life destroyed. Until I walk awake, scream my mind, I shout, the ground shakes. How much can I take? My mind will break. Will it break? Can I take? Can I be your superhero? The first time of today, to dream, believe, you are the strength, you're all I need. Oh, gonna give it a shot, only one of me, to shield you all from the enemy. You're a superhero.
Hello everybody and welcome into the Grindstone Developments Truck Series live tonight from Legacy Atlanta Motor Speedway. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, we saw a pretty crazy race for these guys last week at 5 Flags. Craig Janzak coming out a winner over there. And big question tonight, can he go back-to-back, or will somebody else take the stage and grab their first win of the season? Let's get things kicked off here tonight by getting right down trackside and getting into your starting grid. Well, last week's winner continues on the heater. He'll start tonight from the pole position, and that's Craig Janzak, who starts in the first spot in the 88 machine here tonight. Randy Richards starts to his outside in second, with Rodney Pitcock back in third. The other truck, maybe arguably the other fastest truck of the night, Brian Whitney, looking for some redemption here tonight. We'll see what he can do as he will be starting in that fourth position. Kevin Kirchar starts back in the fifth spot here tonight. It's going to be Jamison Correa to his outside in sixth. Moving on back to row number 4, Stoney Benfield will start seventh, with Bryce Rayner to his outside in eighth. It's going to be George Young back in ninth, with Caleb Forsyth rounding out your top 10. Back in row 6, it's going to be Andrew Hale in the 4 truck alongside Blake Tidwell in the number 35 machine. James Harris starts 13th. Brian Toole back in 14th, with Tyler Meeks in 15th. Billy Brewer 16th. Justin Potts starts back at 17th here tonight, with John Legger in 18th. Brad Thacker in 19th, and Jay Monin rounding out your top 20. William Ann Jr. starts in 21st here tonight. It's going to be Brian Hyde back in the 22nd spot. You've got Wesley Carter in 23rd, Michael Hill starting 24th. Jason Ethery in the 25th spot. Kevin Ward in that 112 machine will start back in the 26th spot, and he will round out your grid here tonight. Taking a look at your race info. It's the Atlanta 135 here in the Craftsman Truck Series. Going to be the same series all season, as well as open setups. The distance we're going to go here tonight around Atlanta Motor Speedway, 90 laps. That breaks down to that 135 miles. 100% fuel, 4 sets of tires, 1 fast repair, and then 2 green light checkers if we were to need them. Weather in the sim, 68 degrees outside, 73% humidity. Clear skies, winds at 3 miles an hour, and track temp around this 1.5 mile racetrack going to be starting at 113 degrees. All right, well, again, last week, kind of a chaotic race. You got to think that things maybe settle down here tonight. We see a little bit more of strategy come into play. We see a little bit more of that side-by-side racing. And here we go. Get ready to find out. Green flag in the air. We are underway at Atlanta, and it's a great restart right out of the gate for the 88 machine of Craig Janzak. He's going to lead the field down into turn number 1 for the first time here tonight, as everybody's going to try to get separated here and find somewhere to tuck in line further back. You see a little bit of 3 wide right there. That's the 48, George Young. Slide the racetrack. Trouble, one hard into the wall. Back up the racetrack. That's the 23 of Rodney Pitcock. Caution is out. More trouble in front of him here. Michael Hill's trying to dodge it. I think he will. And that's the 13 of Brian High. Saw a lot of trouble for him last week. And that's not the start that he wanted here tonight. Major damage, though, for the 23 of Rodney Pitcock. Immediately takes that Chevy Silverado to the pits to get some damages repaired. Good news for the 13, Brian High, and his Fox's Pizza Den paint scheme. Looks like it's not too scuffed up, at least not on the left side, the front, or the rear. That's the good news there for Brian. But boy, to see things go wrong this early at Atlanta, maybe not as surprising as you would think, and I'll tell you why right after we look at this replay, but I think I have a pretty good idea of what's going to cause it. Now, you got to remember, whenever you get a restart, especially a restart to start the race, everybody is on brand new tires, but those tires are cold. They're not up to temperature. They're not up to pressure, and that makes them very slick. You got to kind of work them in for a lap or so, and it looks like what you're going to have here is the inside, on the inside rather, the 23, Rodney Pitcock, trying to wrap the bottom, and as he's getting up off the corner, truck just starts to give out on him. See the rear tires just start to go. Truck gets loose. And as soon as it does, this thing goes for about a 45-degree angle, pointed dead towards the inside safer barrier. And he's got that wheel pointed right, but just never able to steer out of the wreck, if you will. And then, man, right there, that could have been so much worse for the 13 of Brian High. I'll tell you what, I think Brian High got away with one right there. Nice piece of driving by him to miss it. But let's go back and show you this from a couple different angles. First up, watch it from his cockpit view, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when I say how he kind of just gets loose. Looks like the truck's working okay, but then all of a sudden, right as he gets to that transition, kind of from the banking onto the straightaway, just loses it. And at that point, he's just trying to avoid the inside wall. And then we kind of had this secondary incident that breaks out, which you'll see a little bit here from the blimp cam. Watch a little bit further up here as we're going to go all the way up to the fork truck. And I think that's going to be kind of the best view here. He sneaks through it for the most part, but that was Andrew Hale. Right around where he's running, though, is going to be where this secondary wreck starts. And watch it here from the blimp cam. See, they're 3 wide here. They see the wreck, and they just start to kind of squeeze each other. And then a couple go up into the wall. The 4 truck's going to go around. A lot of trucks sliding. But ultimately, it doesn't look like a lot of trucks took, necessarily any big hits. I would say that's kind of the good news there. Caleb Forsyth in the 776 truck. He went around. Let's watch it from his gearbox view. He's going to have a pretty good look at exactly how this contact starts. And, you can argue, obviously, Caleb may be coming down a little bit on this one. In fact, we'll go back to right where this contact's starting and show you the overview so you can see how just how tight these guys were running towards each other. But, as they come off the corner, they see a wreck. And granted, maybe that doesn't take the focus away, but it just looks like Caleb coming off the wall just a little bit, not much. At the same time, I think the 35 arguably coming up the racetrack, as that's Blake Tidwell just searching for a little bit of room. And maybe a little bit of net code, gets those two glued together, and then once they start to make contact, gets the 35 down into the 4 of Andrew Hale. The 55 gets clipped, kind of the innocent bystander in that one, but just nowhere to go right there for James Harris. And that 55 truck, and then the 776 right there gets back into the 4 Andrew Hale. That might have saved him from clipping the inside wall big time. So a couple of good breaks in a wreck that certainly could have taken out a lot more. We'll give you one more look at this here from the spectator view, as this is kind of a straight-on shot of how it happened. after you had that first incident, which backed that up one more time. It's going to be kind of a tough angle from here, but watch Rodney Pitcock. Going to be the first truck to go sideways right there. He's going to go tag the inside wall. And you're going to see the second incident here start to unfold right around halfway down the backstretch into turn 3. All right, so with that, we'll wrap up our replay because back up front, green flag back in the air. It's a good restart for Craig Janzak in the 88 truck. And further back, though, chaos. Big stack up on the outside. George Young not able to get going. Now everybody's going by on the inside. Right now, though, the 17 Tyler Meeks stuck with really nowhere to go. He's going to have to wait till this 48 truck gets wound up and gets going. It looks like a much cleaner 1 and 2 this time. By the way, normally we wouldn't take that long on a replay, but an incident that happened so early and kind of a unique one, if you will, with the way it broke out with that first incident looking like it would be the only truck involved, and then kind of that secondary wreck that happened as a part of it. So 6 laps, by the way, in the books as Randy Richards settles into second, Brian Whitney in third. And for Brian Whitney tonight, we talked about kind of maybe looking for some redemption. If you remember back to last week, leading going into the final set of corners at 5 flags, and he does the one thing that he didn't do all night, and that was make a mistake. And he said in his interview, was honest about it, he said he was getting excited and just that right foot got a little heavy on him. And it's an unfortunate break for Brian Whitney, but a big break for this guy up here, Craig Janzak, who is officially now obviously the first winner of the season as he got the job done in the first race. So again, congrats to Craig Janzak on that. He is carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. We'll be getting to some of those here in just a couple laps. But right now, leading the way, and again, looking very, very smooth and comfortable out in front of this field. I have a kind of a feeling that Craig Janzak would be feeling pretty good at these 1.5 miles with as good as he performed on the short tracks. And I think a lot of people, when you think about Atlanta, if you think about New Atlanta, you don't think about technicality, but if you think about Legacy Atlanta, I mean, this track is all about throttle control. It is very loose in the corners here, especially as the tires wear out a little bit. Very fast track, especially early in the run. But again, as those Goodyear rubbers start to wear out, it becomes a lot about who can control the throttle, who doesn't burn their tires up. And if you're going to make a move, you have got to be confident and be able to make that move work, because if not, you can lose a lot of momentum really, really quickly in these trucks. As we look at some of the onboard views, this is for Stoney Benfield. That's looking out the rear, as he's kind of the last truck as part of a breakaway, if you will. Separating, I would kind of call it a front group from the second group. And the gap between Stoney Benfield and Justin Potts, the leader of that second group, right now is about 1.3 seconds. So they're still catching a little bit of draft. And looks like Kevin Kirchar trying to make some moves now himself. The 91's kind of had it up here, sitting behind Justin Potts for now. Not going to be able to make anything work this time into turn 3. As further back, the 55, James Harris, good recovery so far after being in that first incident. And by the way, obviously I should mention that everybody with that one fast repair here tonight, the race isn't necessarily done after that one incident. And in fact, for Rodney Pitcock, you see he got that damage all cleaned up. Now, I'm not sure if he had an issue where he forgot to check that fast repair, made it into the pits. I'm not sure what the deal is here, but obviously it's a tough break to see Rodney Pitcock not make it back out on track. He's going to be well over probably 10 laps down at this rate, unless he's able to get out here pretty soon. You can see the other truck to get back out on track, Jay Monin. Truck's cleaned up, but unfortunately for him, 6 laps down as well. So again, that's another driver that had a rough week last week, and unfortunately, even early as it is, not looking like he's going to be able to correct that trend too much here tonight. All right, so as we are about 11 of 90 laps through this 135-mile event. Again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. And if you've been tuning in since the start, we appreciate you hanging around with us. Let's get to some of these driver cams. We've got quite a few participants here tonight. And so we'll go ahead and start first with the 55 machine here. That's James Harris, the 55, who we talked about having a pretty solid comeback right now after that trouble and getting involved in that first wreck. And the Team Watson Racing setups kind of going against one of the Team Conti drivers just behind him there. That's Blake Tidwell as the 55. Going to check up right there. He saw that getting a little dicey there for just a moment. If we hop on the roll bar view, you can see, watch as they go through the corner here. This is not the smoothest track, especially over in turn 1 and 2, but a little bit bumpy through 3 and 4, and it's those bumps that really make you have to be careful as you're trying to get back on the throttle. You don't want to jump on it too soon. Again, very easy to get the truck to snap around. Go all the way towards the front of the field now. Change camera views up here a little bit. So we now take an onboard view with Craig Janzak, winner of last week's race, and leader so far here tonight of every single lap. And the Atlanta 135 just behind him there, that's Brian Whitney. Starting to make some ground back up. But for Craig Janzak, been very calm, cool, and collected inside the cockpit, both virtual and real life. Right now, that number 88 machine. Switching things again here a little bit further towards the back of the field. Michael Hill on the move. He is up 6 positions where he started this race at, and looking like right now maybe having a little bit of issues with Mike's camera. So we'll see if we can get that back up by the end of the race. And then last but certainly not least, don't believe we got to see him last week. I think making his first official start of the season here tonight. And that's Bryce Rayner in the number 99 truck. The driver out of Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. That is another one of the Team Conti drivers. In fact, if we hop on the rear chase view, yeah, you see he's got the Team Conti logo on the front hood. And so for Bryce Rayner, he is also on the move up 3 spots from where he started this race, and actually the only 2 that have him beat right now inside the top 10 for positions gained since the start of the race is Justin Potts and looks like James Harris in the 55, who continues his charge through the field. All right, so I know it's still a ways away, but you still got to think about the possibility of green flag pit stops and kind of when you would maybe expect that in these trucks at a track like Atlanta. Now, again, these guys run on 100% fuel, so they can go just as far as the trucks would in real life. Now, in terms of the exact lap count, not 100% sure here on Legacy Atlanta. I think if I had to take probably a pretty good guess in these trucks, it's probably somewhere in the 40s, maybe even in the 50s probably. That might be a little bit closer to it, somewhere in the 50s. If that was the case, from when we went back green, still well within the possibility in the realm, actually guaranteed, I should say, that we would have 1 green flag pit stop. It would just be a little bit of a matter of when do you decide to make that stop, and of course, what do you decide to take? I think the obvious call would be 4 tires filled up with fuel. But maybe if we get a couple more cautions, something of that nature changes the strategy up. You can try to take 2 tires, no tires later on if you take some now, or save some tires for the end of this race. That was Bryce Rayner and James Correa side by side there. That was the battle for the 5th spot, make it 4th rather. And it looks like Bryce is going to get the best of Jameson on that one. Now Stoney Benfield, great run for him last week, finished on the podium in that 3rd spot. Stoney Benfield going to be trying to make his way back inside the top 3 here tonight. Right now running up a spot from where he started. Currently sits in the 6th position. Kevin Kirchar getting ready to maybe go to battle here in the 91 with the 55 of James Harris. And looks like for Kachar here, he's going to try that inside. Ooh, gets loose, and another one gets loose just behind him right there. That might have been Tyler Meeks in the 21. Let's see. And looks like, no, that was actually the 17 Tyler Meeks that I'm looking at here. The 21 machine. Rather, I guess it was just behind him, actually. That was John Legger in the 19 machine that we saw get really, really loose right there. That was a close call off of turn 2 for John Legger. Did a good job, though, of saving it. That shows you that even though we're, I'd say, not even really to the halfway or medium portion of this run yet, you've already got drivers starting to have some trouble with handling. And that's certainly something that can catch your attention. Even if you're one of these front runners, you feel like you got a good setup. I mean, we did talk about what track temp was here tonight, and again, all things considered, not that bad, nothing crazy. Certainly not the almost 140-degree track temp that we saw last week at 5 Flags, but in case you missed it at the start of the race, 117 degrees here. That doesn't help make things any better, that's for sure. I mean, tire wear already an issue here. You add a track temp of over 110 degrees, that's going to make the grip level go down just a little bit more. But overall, lap times, they'll fall off quite a bit. New tires versus old tires makes a huge difference here. And we get the opportunity to see that, of course, after we see the first round of green flag pit stops. And so Craig Janzak, who right now leads the way, taking kind of a dashboard view there in the bottom right to show you exactly what his throttle tracing and top speed looks like here at Atlanta. You see him lifting off in the corner, probably to about 3/4 throttle. Maybe actually gets all the way out of it briefly. The average throttle there about 3/4 to the corner, and then gets right back on the loud pedal here down the straight, upwards of 175 miles an hour. And again, this is on older tires. In the draft, at the start of a run, if everybody's pushing, these guys are probably pushing well over 180, maybe even closer to 190 in terms of miles per hour. Looking at the time delta here between Craig Janzak and Brian Whitney, the 2 that were dueling so much last week. For Janzak here, he was kind of holding even about 5 laps ago, and then about 3 laps ago, that started to change. Janzak got a little bit of a gap on Brian Whitney. Now he's trying to extend that gap here just a little bit more, as he currently sits just under 0.3 of a second ahead of Brian Whitney. Still some work to do, though, because that's not it. Randy Richard, Bryce Rayner, Still hanging tough with these front two. Trying to see if they can maybe make a move here as we get into the longer portion of the run. So 23 of 90 laps now officially in the books. Craig Janzak continues to lead the way. By the way, Craig Janzak, if you like what you're seeing from him here tonight, he will be racing in the PGR 500. So looking forward to seeing Craig in that. And of course, obviously getting to see him here tonight. And then a little bit further back in the field, notice now a couple more side-by-side battles. So that's the 35 of Tidwell. But it looks like the 91 here of Kevin Kirchar are going to lose not just one, but maybe two spots here. So that's Tyler Meeks in 17, making his first start of the season here tonight. He'll sneak by on the outside line, takes that spot. They quickly single file things right back out. I was trying to see here if we had a bit of a better pit lane cam. It's a tricky one here at Atlanta. It's certainly not the most difficult pit lane, I would say, of some of the tracks that we're going to go to. But still one that you got to keep an eye on. You don't want to get too comfortable. As further back, the 34, Jason Ethery, Justin Potts running in the mid-teens, and then Wesley Carter, I believe, making his first start of the season here tonight. Michael Hill back in that 18th spot. And so for Michael Hill here, as it stands right now, he is up 6 positions still where he started this race at. Brad Thacker side by side here with the 67 of Monin, but Monin, of course, 6 laps down. Looks like he has not been able to change that, so he's going to need some cautions here pretty quickly. Caleb Forsyth in that 776 machine has also now fallen 2 laps off of the lead trucks. So he'll have some work to do. By the way, talking about the schedule and what to expect for these guys over the next couple weeks, I mean, it's a pretty, I would say it's kind of a pretty exciting schedule. As, by the way, just got a race control update here that as for tonight, they accidentally set on unlimited tires. So just a brief edit for you, it is no longer 4 sets of tires, it's unlimited, which I wouldn't say changes too much. I mean, especially if this race goes pretty green, because, I mean, that kind of limits you to only taking probably less than 4 sets of tires regardless. So I don't think that changes much, but again, just a little bit of a brief update for your information. And so, speaking of that schedule, though, which is what I just was getting ready to mention. Of course, last week, again, if you missed it, was 5 flags. Craig Janzak got the win there. And tonight, we're at Legacy Atlanta Motor Speedway. Going to see who gets the job done here. As we'll hold that thought just briefly, as Whitney is getting a little feisty here, maybe, with Craig Janzak. These two looking really good. I believe they're both running that Team Conti set. And so even though it's open sets and you can make minor adjustments, usually you got 2 talented drivers with similar setups. And this is what you're going to get to see. Brian Whitney, though, going to try the high side here through 3 and 4. A little bit surprised that Janzak's going to give him that lane. Maybe he feels like his truck's a little bit better on the bottom. Maybe he feels like it just doesn't quite have it up top. And we'll see how long he's able to fend off the charging 76 of Brian Whitney here. And usually that is kind of the trend here at Atlanta. Start things on the bottom, and then once you feel like you're starting to wear some of your stuff out, you start to shift up top. But here we go. Brian Whitney going to get a bit of a run off of 2, takes it to the inside. And can he dive off and get clear of Craig Janzak into turn 3? Yes, he can. Janzak going to stay up top looking for another run, but I don't think he'll get it. And if you're curious about just how much better new tires are, look at the 776 Caleb Forsyth. Whoa, trouble! He got into Whitney. Whitney's going to go around. Caution is out. Trouble again here for Brian Whitney. That was a pretty big hit trying to find him here. I apologize for the poor camera work, but we had just switched back to the lapper of Caleb Forsyth, so we had to try to switch and go all the way to the front as Brian Whitney was losing positions in that wreck. But oh my goodness, did not see that coming. Just as Brian Whitney thinks he's setting up to take the lead, they get into it with a lap truck. Caleb Forsyth, who I was just getting ready to mention, clearly on new tires. That's why he was able to just look like kind of a rocket ship compared to these guys, even though he was just painting the inside. Got into the 76. Now, I'm not sure exactly how it played out. We'll go back and look at it on replay. But that's a tough break for Brian Whitney. He's going to have to go in for some repairs, most definitely. And now it's going to be, I would think, more of a question of how many repairs, or can he, I guess I should say, can he fix it with just the optional repairs, or is he going to have to take his fast repair here? Just 30 laps complete. All right, let's go back and look at it here. Coming off of turn 4, watch the 776. That's Caleb Forsyth here. He's going to get a great big run up off the corner, and he's going to have to go to the inside here. He's trying to get a lap back. That's okay. No issues there. But what happens, and we're going to go to the chopper view, as they work into the quad oval here, see Caleb Forsyth. He's going to go down really, really low. Does the 76 get loose? He does. Wow. And it's not even contact. It looks like Brian Whitney just loses it all by himself. I'll tell you what, on initial live view, the camera angle we had, I thought that Caleb Forsyth got into the 76 of Brian Whitney. He did not. Looks to me like Whitney just loses it all by himself here. If you watch it from the quad oval, I'll tell you what can happen here. Watch here. Watch how loose he is off of 4. And he's working that truck. And then as he gets in the quad oval here, puts a little wheel into it, and it just starts to go on him. And then he overcorrects, gets into Janzak, and now he's hard into that outside safer barrier. Damage is done at this point, and look at this. That is a terrifying view. It's a good thing that we are obviously in a sim here. Brian Whitney, very, very lucky, and a good job by the rest of the field there to miss him as he was pointed head-on into traffic. Stopped on the straightaway, one of the fastest portions of the racetrack. But again here, for Whitney, it's just, you know, what this is again, it's a quad oval. So the way it's shaped, the idea is to kind of run it like a smooth, curved front straightaway. If you try to turn the wheel after you go through each of these little kinks, especially on old tires, this is what can happen. And for Brian Whitney, he just gets a little bit loose, and, you know, maybe he saves this. I don't know if he makes that overcorrection just in an attempt to save it, or if he makes that overcorrection because he realizes that Forsyth is down there and doesn't want to get into him, but then once he does, gets up again into Craig Janzak. Those, again, two of the fastest trucks here tonight, alongside Randy Richards and Bryce Rayner, obviously, but I think Janzak may have gotten away with one here. Whitney did not. That's heavy, heavy contact. As we show you another view, watch it slow. Janzak all the way on the high side, going to try to miss it. Ooh, Whitney did get into his left front. Certainly makes you wonder and hope that Janzak didn't get any suspension damage right there, as he had to do a little bit of wheeling and dealing himself there to miss the outside wall. And there is Craig Janzak. The onboard view as he was resetting his driver cam for us. And so as he does so, can show you that hit right there for Brian Whitney as he'll eventually slide to a halt. Look at this. I mean, this is really, really sketchy stuff right here. You're just hoping that everybody's able to bob and weave left and right and not hit you, and they do so. So Whitney ends up okay there, but certainly going to hurt his chances here tonight. All right, so back up front, Craig Janzak still out in front, leading the pack here at Atlanta. It's the 53, Randy Richard on the outside. Bryce Rayner third, Jamison Correa fourth. James Harris now back inside your top 5. I'm not sure if the 88 of Janzak went into pit and used a fast repair, or if he just didn't have any damage at all from it, or if it was so minor that he was able to get it optionally repaired. But whatever he did, he was able to keep himself out in front, so it couldn't have been too bad. As here we go, now over a third of this race complete, as green flag is back in the air at Atlanta, and it's a good restart again for the 88 of Craig Janzak. He is going to lead the field here down in towards turn number 1. The real battle is the battle for second between Bryce Rayner and Randy Richard. For Bryce Rayner right here, he's going to try to find a way clear. See if he can make it happen here as they work off of turn 2. You see the rest of the field going to try to single file out down the backstretch. Still quite a bit of side-by-side, especially as you get back into the middle of this pack. That's the 17 of Tyler Meeks getting passed by the 35 of Blake Tidwell just behind them. Looked like that may have been James Harris. Nope, that's the 48 of George Young. I take that back, as this is back for kind of around the 10th position. George Young actually trying to take 8th away from that 19 of John Legger. And then all the way back from about 12th through 20th, still a lot of side-by-side. And 91 of Kirchhoff are going to find a spot in line. Looks like just in front of him, Brian Toole will as well. Brian Toole, another driver that really had a rough week last week, and it was none of his doing, an innocent bystander, and feels like almost every incident that they had. Certainly rooting for Brian here tonight, hoping that he can have a better run. I feel like certainly got done a little bit unfair, just the way things went for him last week. And as it stands right now, Brian is up a spot from where he started and getting close to breaking inside the top 10. So again, very good possibility that he has a solid run here tonight if he can keep it up, at least at the rate that he's going right now. So 35 and 90 laps complete, by the way, in terms of kind of how we're going to shift that next green flag pit stop now, of course, with that last caution. I would say, you figure, let's just say these guys can run 50 laps. It's still going to be kind of close on making it to the end. I want to say it's, boy, it might be a little too close for me to call. I'll tell you what, if we get another caution, probably any time 4 to 5 laps from now, maybe 4 to 10 laps to be a little safer, then I would really start to grow some confidence that these guys can make it to the finish. Right now, I'm a little kind of on the fence. Not exactly sure, again, how far these trucks can go. The next gen's at Atlanta, probably go somewhere in the 60s in terms of how many laps they can run. But these trucks obviously hold less fuel. And so that's why kind of the general guess here, for me at least, is that maybe these guys can go somewhere maybe around 50 laps or so. But again, we'll have to see if we can get to that green flag stop, obviously, in order to be able to find out. Well, 37 of 90 laps complete, so we're going to go ahead and take our first break tonight. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Atlanta.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We won't run! We won't run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got
The monkey has pride!
this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost from trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. As we bring you back in here, we are under caution yet again. And this time for an incident potentially involving the 27, I believe it was. Not Michael Hill, I take that back. A few spots further back than that. We'll go back and actually look at exactly what happened here. But again, this is while we were on break. Wasn't exactly sure what happened to bring out the caution. So we'll go back and look at a couple different things here. See if we can figure this out. Initially, I thought it may have been the 29 of William Mann Jr., but it doesn't look like he really was wrecking, at least not at the time of the caution. This is where I think the incident may have happened. And yeah, I think that's a pretty obvious telltale sign right here is watch as they go into turn 3. That's going to be Stoney Benfield racing alongside, looks like the 00 machine, Billy Brewer, who we haven't had a chance to talk about too much yet tonight. And as they go into turn 3, looks like Stoney taking a late entry into the corner. Billy kind of establishing his nose there. And once Stoney comes down, gets into the 00, that gets him sideways. 00 gets a little shot from Brian Whitney in the 76 out back. And now that's got Stoney Benfield sideways. He's going to go up and, wow. Man, what a save for Stoney Benfield. How about that one? Man, I don't know how he held onto that truck and kept it out of the outside wall. That is, I mean, I wish I could I wish there was a better way to explain how difficult what he just did was, but watch this from the onboard view. I don't know how he managed to not slide up into the outside wall. He gets turned. Right here, you should be going around in the fence. And I mean, he comes within just mere inches of that outside safer barrier before he whips it back around, gets it straightened out, pointed in the right direction. As, again, I'll show you that view from kind of a bit of a different angle here. Watch as they get into the corner. So you're going to see Stoney right here. He's going to enter the corner a little bit later, right there. And you actually see the fire out of the pipes for the 0-0. Billy Brewer, no intention there. He didn't want to get into Stoney, just maybe not expecting that move, kind of trying to a little bit justify that give and take portion and trying to get a little bit more take right there. And once he realized Stoney was coming down, tried to get out of it, but unfortunately just a little too late. But hey, no harm, no foul. Nobody gets any major damage. Stoney's got a little bit in the left rear. Be able to get that fixed up. He'll be good to go. All right, back. Here we go. Green flag in the air as it is now just about the halfway point here in this 135-mile event. Good restart up front as the front four have swapped things up a little bit. Randy Richard alongside the four of Andrew Hale. And for Hale, this might be a bit of strategy play. We'll see how long. Trouble out back. Watch out. We got one going around. It's Billy Brewer. He's going to collect the 84 of Brian Toole. Another one trying to hold on further back. No caution yet. Will we keep things green as... Is that more trouble even further back here just behind Brian Toole? Kevin Ward. Does he maybe have some issues of his own? Looks like he hit that right front pretty hard. And he does. He's got broken suspension as well. And so, yes, we do keep everything green here, as shocking as that may be. We'll go back and look at a replay just a moment, but still 3 wide. Now another one into the outside wall. I think that was Bryce Rayner, as he'll have to now get that truck back situated. He does so. But as these restarts get later and later, the aggression's going to pick up more and more. And by the way, I think that they are now at the point where they can comfortably make it at least to the end of regulation on fuel. So I don't think we'll be seeing a green flag pit stop, at least not from this point. As we'll be approaching just about 40 laps to go and a handful of laps or so. All right, let's go back and look at this incident here on the backstretch that, again, did not bring out the caution. Now, it's all going to start here with the 0-0 of Billy Brewer, who's going to kind of get himself into some trouble. Now, I'm thinking this may have just been him getting loose, but let's watch it here. The chopper view. I mean, he is barely on the throttle, though, so that almost makes you wonder if he wasn't getting some help out back here. Let's see. All right, so watch it again from the chopper view. This is as they're going through turn 1 and 2. Billy Brewer starts to get loose, catches it once. Now he's up the racetrack, trying to catch it again. Maybe slight contact for the 76 of Whitney, who obviously just didn't really have anywhere to go. He tried to sneak by the inside. And as the 0-0 loses it, he gets into the 84. That collects Brian Toole. And for Toole, he goes for a slide. I don't think Billy Brewer really gets any major damage. As, go back and look at this incident here from a bit of a different angle. This is the one that's really going to catch your attention right here. As up off the corner, watch the 84 as he gets turned. Right there. Notice that truck starts to get a little bit light. These guys not up to full speed, but keep that in mind for later. We have a wreck kind of in the same spot, but of course, these guys are up to full speed, full pace, if you will. And then watching this again here for what happens to Kevin Ward. That's the question I'm trying to figure out is, where does he get this big damage here? For Kevin Ward here, he's on the outside of the racetrack. Did he already have the damage at this point? He sees some spinning. Looks up. Oh, gets tagged from out back, it looks like. At least that would be the assumption with the way that truck jumped up the racetrack here. Does he get some help? Watch out back. That's the 67. Jay Monin, and yep, Monin just tags him left rear, and that's what sends him into the outside wall. So as we go back wide now, Randy Richard up front leading the way as we're almost 50 laps through this 90-lap race here tonight. And with just 40 laps to go, when they cross the line this time, you wonder, for Craig Janzak, what can he do right here? By the way, I was talking a little bit about the schedule earlier. Never did quite get to finish the conversation about it, at least in terms of where we're going to head throughout the next couple weeks. So again, here tonight, we're at Legacy Atlanta. Next week, we'll head over to the Chicago Street Course. Boy, you talk about an interesting challenge. Boy, is that one ever going to be for these guys, especially the ones that aren't necessarily fans of road courses. After that, we'll head to Atlanta Motor Speedway, another short track, and then it's off to Homestead before we go to the first and only super speedway of the season, or at least in the first 9 races. Daytona International Speedway. Then it'll be off to Current Atlanta, which is kind of a hybrid between a super speedway and a mile and a half. Then it's off to Circuit of the Americas for the final road course race in the first 9 races. And then we finish things off at Phoenix Raceway for the 9th race of the season. And again, I'm not sure if these guys go past that 9-race marker if they end it there, but the idea is that they follow the iRacing official schedule, so the drivers can, of course, get practice during that week of officials and then have something to work with here during race day. All right, Randy Richard still up front leading the way. And for Richard right now, he is up single spot from where he started this race at, qualified second. Driver out of Osceola, Indiana. Right now with a great run, looking for his first win of the season. Jamison Correa right now sits in the 3rd spot. He's up 3 from where he started. And James Harris, how about it? Now is up 9 positions from where he started this race. And more impressively, kind of had to make that comeback a second time after getting involved in that early incident. It gave him a bit of a setback and some damage. But a nice job right now by Harris getting up here and trying to get himself in the mix. So if you're Craig Janzak here, I think he's kind of patiently just waiting. Probably doesn't feel like he needs to necessarily push the issue, at least not too much. At least not at this stage in the race. We still have, I'd say, a fair amount of time to go. Obviously, you don't want to sit around too long where your tires start to wear out and then you can't make the move. But obviously, you don't have to get over-aggressive here, especially if you feel like you've got a truck faster than the guy in front of you. Now, some of the battling that we're seeing right now, back for that third and 4th spot, Jameson Correa and James Harris trying to hold off Bryce Rayner, Tyler Meeks, and the 76 of Brian Whitney, who we saw actually do this same setup last week after going to the back. Only difference was last week it was off of a strategy call. Here tonight it was due to an incident that he got himself in. He is making his way pretty quickly now back towards the front of the field. And as we're going to be hitting 35 laps to go this next time, he is getting closer and closer to being back in contention. Now, he still might need a caution for some help. He's about 1.3 seconds or so back from your leader, Randy Richard. And that's going to be close. It's going to be tight on if he can make that up with all the traffic. But I don't know, if he keeps up at the pace he's going, certainly would not rule it out of the realm of possibilities. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. If you've been tuning in, again, we appreciate you hanging out with us. If you're new to the channel, please do leave us a follow. And if you like what you see from these guys, make sure you tune in every Tuesday night for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Good series. And I tell you what, the race length that these guys run, I think is about the perfect length. You know, I know everybody likes the long run, and the thing with these is if you go green, you get the opportunity for at least 1 and maybe kind of 2 long runs depending on what racetrack it's at. But if you get a lot of cautions, it's not a race that feels like it drags on for 2.5, 3 hours as these guys try to, just run green flag laps. It's kind of that perfect distance, right about an hour to an hour and a half. But in terms of race time and how it feels as a driver, enough time to settle in, enough time to get a rhythm, and enough time to figure out how good you are on the short run versus the long run, without necessarily running 3 or 4 different long runs throughout a single race. So Craig Janzak still just kind of sitting in the footsteps right now of Randy Richard. Still not making a move just yet. Let's hop on board with him here and see kind of what he's thinking. He might be waiting for Randy to make the mistake, but I don't know. Craig here we go. He's going to look to the inside here down the backstretch. He's got to grab that left rear quarter panel, and he'll do so down the back. Off into turn 3, he's going to dive it. We'll see if he can stick it clear right here. And he will. The 53, Randy Richard, realize that, so he'll tuck in line behind Craig Janzak, who actually tagged the wall there just a little bit coming off the corner. And Richards thought about peeking the nose low one more time, but looks like he is going to think better of it for now. Again, that 53 machine in a Team Conti setup. So you got to assume relatively similar to what the 88 has under the hood and what the 99 has under the hood. Bryce Rayner, the man who's kind of been running more of a long run strategy here tonight, with just wait until the run starts to get going before he tries to make his moves towards the front. It's paid off so far, and here he is again, starting to make that charge back towards your top 2 leaders. He's about half a second right now behind Janzak, and only about 0.3 of a second behind Randy Richards, so he's well within drafting range. And I think for Bryce here, what you're going to see is he's going to catch these two pretty quickly over the course of the next 5 laps or so. Now, if he gets there and what he's going to do if he makes that move, hold on, we got some trouble here. Brad Thacker, will this bring out a caution? Thacker through the grass down the front stretch, no caution We stay green yet again. No damage for Thacker either. That makes you assume that he may have just went for a little bit of a detour through the grass. Let's go back and see what happened here to Thacker, as again, this is coming down the front stretch. And is he just going to get a little bit loose? Thacker in that 56 machine. Let's go to the cockpit view first. And watch as he's getting up off the corner here. The truck just going to start to slide out on him. Yeah, it is. And he's trying to save it, but eventually here it just gets to be a little too much. Now he overcorrects a little bit, gets into the grass. Trying to get it back going, but just old tires. Truck's all out of shape. Eventually just commits to saving it no matter what he has to use. But still luckily able to avoid the pit exit. And so he won't get any penalty for that. Just unfortunately going to lose some track position in the process. But a good save by Brad Thacker, as it looks like, as we go back live, he is now sitting in that 20th position. So going to need a caution, going to need some help somehow. We'll see if he can get it. By the way, 21 trucks on the lead lap. Billy Brewer, the first truck that is not on the lead lap, and fortunately for him, the lucky dog isn't going to put him back on it, as he currently sits 4 laps down at the moment. And then just behind him, Kevin Ward, 5 laps down, and Jay Monin still 6 laps down at the moment. Definitely seeing some trucks with some handling issues as, ooh, look at this. Brian Whitney bringing it down to the pits. Well, I didn't think these guys would have to make another green flag stop. Maybe they don't. But this is really, really interesting here to see Brian Whitney bringing it down to the pits right here, unless he had some sort of actual issue. I don't think so. I mean, you see the right side tires going on. He'll take lefts as well. Very, very interesting call here for Brian Whitney. Okay, so maybe the fuel number here in these trucks was a little bit shorter than what we thought. Maybe they couldn't quite make the distance, and Brian Whitney here is trying some strategy play. Best way to know if this is a true pit sequence that everybody's going to have to go through here is, well, simply once we start seeing some more names pit. Right now, though, none of your leaders have brought it in, as Craig Janzak continues to be on the point, and it's Randy Richard and Bryce Rayner currently battling it out for second. I think Rayner might get the best of Randy Richard here, if not off of 4. Definitely into turn 1. Looks like Richard is going to let him have it. And so that moves, again, Rayner up to that second spot now. And he'll try to go up there and track down your leader, Craig Janzak. So as they cross the line this time around, it'll be officially 25 laps to go here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. I know we talked about what the schedule was earlier tonight, but also can't forget about after last race, point standings now officially in the books. And if you look at what points are kind of looking like here, at least based off of last week, well, it actually doesn't look like they've quite updated it yet, but I was going to say it's going to be pretty obvious who your top 2 are. Craig Janzak, Brian Whitney. And with the night that Craig Janzak's having so far here tonight, I think there's a great possibility that he will come out as the leader in points after tonight still, so he'll hold on to that spot. But Brian Whitney, depending on how things all pan out for him, if he's not able to bring him a good finish, certainly has the opportunity to drop a few positions in points. All right, so now that we are officially at 25, coming to 24 laps to go, we're going to go ahead and take our final green flag commercial break of the night. We'll go side by side again so you don't miss a thing. We'll be back. Stick with us here at Atlanta.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
created, our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will pride! We will pride! Ladies and gentlemen, we go.
The monkey is prime!
This season, we are hydrated. The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time! Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
We're back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now just 19 laps to go in the Atlanta 135 here tonight for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. And up front, still leading the way, Craig Janczak, Bryce Rayner second, with Randy Richard back in third, John Legger fourth, James Harris currently rounding out your top five. Maybe not for too much longer, though, the 81 here of Jameson Correa trying to apply some pressure here. See if that 81 can sneak to the inside. It's a really tough thing to do, but this is honestly kind of a textbook move if you can make it work. Get alongside a guy right as you're entering the backstretch. You can grab his quarter panel and get a side draft, really sucking back down the backstretch. And you'll get a great run off into turn three. You can try to dive and slide clear. But the 81 wasn't able to do it there. He'll try again, though, down the front stretch here. Maybe looking for a bit of a side draft through the quad oval. He will not. Instead, he'll stay as low as he can. And I don't think that James Harris is going to be able to fend him off for too much longer, although making the high side work. He's going to make the 81 have to try to do it the hard way, and he can't. The 81 not quite able to get clear, so James Harris will stay side by side with them for yet another straightaway. And eventually here, if you're the 81, Jameson Correa, you're going to have to figure it out, either slide clear or back off. He's burning himself up a lot of tire doing this. And now it looks like finally, with some authority, he'll take it. James Harris may have cut him a little bit of a break. Further back, George Young, Tyler Meeks, they're all single filed out. And here comes Blake Tidwell. Maybe not. Never mind. Just got really loose. I mean, I was sitting there getting ready to say he's really coming in hot. But just got a little bit loose off of turn four. That's what it was. Michael Hill, Brian High, Caleb Forsyth, Brad Thacker, Andrew Hale, Brian Toole. All part of the 19 trucks that remain on the lead lap here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Craig Janczak, though, continues to lead. He's about half a second in front of Rayner, who it seems like has not really been able to make much more progress after getting to that second position. Now, granted, half a second, 15 laps, that's still plenty of time here. I mean, if Janczak makes any sort of slip up, Rayner's there. And even if he doesn't, Rayner could start to try to slowly bring it back in here over the course of the next 5 or 10 laps. In fact, looking at that time delta between the two, you can see it's fluctuated just a little bit here. For Janczak, that gap got significantly smaller there before it finally started to extend back out, but got maybe all the way up to 2, even 1/10 of a second as the closest distance between these two at one point. But now has been kind of consistently hanging around that half a second marker. By the way, a couple quick notes. Next place that PGR eSports will head, as we'll hold that thought for just a second here, Justin Potts had a bit of an issue. This may have been while we were on break, just getting the reports in on the data from it. So let's go back and see here. What happened to 38? Boy, he must have had some major issue to get that slow all of a sudden. Down the backstretch, or does he just get loose? That would be my guess. Let's see. He's coming off the corner. Yeah, he's just getting loose and then trying to correct it here, and it's in the outside wall. At this point here, it looks like he straightens it out and then go down the track and gets loose again, and bam! Oh, hits that inside concrete wall pretty hard. Very lucky that that also didn't bring out a caution. It's a 38, very, very slow rolling on the inside of the racetrack. So he tries to get it back going. Looks like he eventually does, but obviously major damage. Justin Potts had to go in and take a fast repair, get some repairs done. And he is back on the racetrack now, trying to scrap whatever points and positions he can for the rest of the way. What I was getting ready to note is the next place that PGR eSports heads is going to be, I'm not sure if we're going to fill in tomorrow night as we were initially planning on it, but I know for sure Thursday we'll be back with the Intimidator Super Speedway Series, and then we'll be back next week, obviously, for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. So make sure that you tune in for that as we are approaching and getting closer now to single-digit laps remaining in this race. 11 to go as Janzak crosses the line that time. And a race that started as 90 laps. I'll tell you what, certainly has gone by pretty quick. These guys have only had, in total, less than a handful of cautions. Now, obviously, I still think kind of lucky that the last two incidents we had didn't bring out a caution. But if we get one late here, it can certainly change a lot of things up. And based off what we saw last week, you almost wonder if it's going to take some of these guys kind of a week to adjust, just because they weren't really expecting maybe things to be quite as clean as they were here tonight. Albeit it's a good thing. I'm just saying it's, you go from a week where you can't run 5 laps under green. You don't really get a chance to kind of feel what it's like to go on a long run where you got to stay in rhythm for, over 40 laps or something of that nature. Here tonight, they got a couple opportunities to go for fairly long runs, at least under green. And what I wanted to look at here was these two have been side by side now for a lap or two. 17, Tyler Meeks trying to get the best of Michael Hill, and it looks like he finally will. So that moves Meeks up to now only down 3 spots from where he started this race. Michael Hill, though, still up 5 positions from where he started this race at. So Janzak will now finally see single digits as we are just 9 laps away from the checkered flag in race 2 this season. Up top, that's the 56 machine, Brad Thacker. He's just going to stay up top right now, stay well out of the way of these leaders. Wants no part of getting in the way here. And so Thacker going to dive low. Bryce Rayner, I apologize, is now got it down to back about 0.3 of a second or so from the back bumper here of Craig Janzak. So again, he's starting to close it up. It's going to be all about timing, though, here with 8 laps to go. This is where you have got to be perfect. Tires are starting to wear. You can't make a mistake. If you get to this 88 truck, you have to have a plan in mind. Where are you going to make that move? Is he going to try to get around the high side? And what if Janzak doesn't leave that option open for him? Then what does he do? What he can't afford to do is slip up, kind of the way he just did right there off of turn 2. Because even if you only lose half, tenth, even a tenth, at this point in the race, that's where it starts to become maybe just a little bit too much to try to make back up. And over the course of the next 7 laps, and for Janzak here, this becomes just don't make a mistake yourself. I think if he drives the way he's driving right now, Rayner might get close, but I don't think he'll be able to get by him. And for Janzak here, just very patient on the throttle, wrapping the inside of the racetrack. You see he has to saw on that wheel a little bit to the right as he gets up off the corner. But still looking very, very smooth, very fast down the backstretch. As Rayner again taking a little bit of that shallower entry, trying to get a little bit of clean air on the left side of the nose, but kind of the I guess would be the opposite end of the spectrum, or the downside of it is that when he gets in that early, what it does, just kills that momentum on exit. As he tries to hold it down. Watch this. All right, so here you go. Enters early, gets the nose down sooner, but then watch what happens here kind of as a trade-off on exit. Not able to get as good of an exit as Janzak gets caught in a little bit of that dirty air, doesn't have as wide of an arc off. And has to get out of it, or rather kind of wait a little bit longer to get on the throttle to make sure that he doesn't go up and into that outside safer barrier. So further back, the battle for third between Randy Richard and John Beggar. Not a very close one, but Jamison Correa, James Harris still hanging relatively close to each other, as I believe would have been Brian Whitney there, who took it back down the pits. Boy, his night went from bad to worse in a hurry. I take that back, that was actually Andrew Hale. So it looks like Brian Whitney decided that, I'm not sure if he decided to be done or if he had some sort of issue. The way it looks like he has called it for the night. So Andrew Hale going to take it into his pit box here. Maybe 4 tires and fuel. Actually going to take a fast repair. So I'm not sure if he had some sort of issue, but meanwhile back up front here for Craig Janzak. Just 4 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Janzak trying to make it back-to-back victories. Capturing 2 wins to start the season is certainly a good way to kick things off in the battle to be the champion, of course, by the end of the season. See the 776 of Caleb Forsyth making his way back off the pits, going to merge onto the racetrack. And for Bryce Rayner, at this point, looks like he has fallen to about 0.6 of a second behind Craig Janzak. So I think at this point, he's either going to need a miracle or a caution. I don't know if he's going to get it. Just 3 laps to go. That leaves us only 2 more laps that we could potentially have a caution. You know that Craig Janzak is going to be trying to race these next 2 laps as fast as he possibly can. Wants to see that white flag out in the air and make this race official, so he doesn't have to worry about it. But whoa, boy, right there, something like that is what I'm talking about. He caught Billy Brewer in a really awkward spot. The 00 not doing anything wrong, but the 88, again, caught him in a really weird area. That could have either ended badly or cost him a lot more time than it did. Nice job, though, by Janzak to recover and get around that traffic without issue. And now it's just 2 laps to go. This will be the last lap for a caution if we're going to get one. 88 to Janzak, looking smooth through 1 and 2, no issues there. As Rayner again continues to try everything he can. These two have definitely gapped the rest of the field by well over 2 seconds. But for Rayner, 0.6 back, just not going to happen. It was a valiant effort. The strategy paid off to get him to at least 2nd. But for Janzak right now, it is all about racing himself here as the white flag is in the air. That means 1 lap to go for Craig Janzak here, who is just 4 corners away from grabbing his 2nd win of the season. The 88 painting the bottom of the racetrack. He'll wrap that white line through the center. And as he exits, well, I'll tell you what, he's still fighting the wheel. He's not going to stop fighting that wheel until he gets all the way to the checkered flag. But here we go. Final time into turn 3 and 4. Well, the finish may not have been quite as exciting as it was last week, but for Janzak, he's going to be just as happy because not only does he get the season opener, he'll take race 2. Craig Janzak goes back-to-back, and he wins it in Atlanta. Bryce Rayner will take home 2nd, and it's Randy Richard who rounds out the podium. Rayner going to give him a little bump. 2 Team Conti teammates. Well, for Janzak, last week it was about getting it done with chaos and really no strategy, just all about short run speed. Here tonight became a lot more about strategy. Maybe not a green flag stop, but still more who could save their tires and who had a good long run set. Again, tonight, that man was Craig Janzak. Taking a look at your final results here tonight as Janzak's going to come around and burn it down in front of the virtual grandstands. He is your race winner. Bryce Rayner finishes in 2nd. Randy Richard 3rd with John Legger in 4th. And Jamison Correa rounding out your top 5. It's going to be James Harris back in 6th. George Young 7th with Jason Nethery in 8th. William Mann Jr. in 9th. And Wesley Carter rounding out your top 10. And you can see there they're lining up for the 3-truck Team Conti picture as they will finish 1, 2, 3 again here tonight. Moving on to the 11th spot, Stoney Benfield, followed by Brian High in 12th. Tyler Meeks back in 13th with Blake Tidwell in 14th. Back in 15th, it's Dylan Toole with Michael Hill, Justin Pott 16th and 17th. And Caleb Forsyth finishing back in the 18th spot here tonight. And rounding out your top 20 is going to be Andrew Hale and Brad Thacker. 21st, Billy Brewer, Jay Mon in 22nd. Kevin Ward back in 23rd, Brian Whitney 24th. Then you've got Kevin Kirchard 25th and Rodney Pitcock rounding out the field here tonight. He finishes in 26th. All right, we are going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Atlanta. All right, and we're going to start first here tonight with your race winner. Not 1, but 2 in a row for Craig Janzak. Craig, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, Austin, I got you, man. How's things going?
Good. Well, you get the job done here tonight. Don't look quite as excited as last week. I have a feeling you seem to get these things quite a bit, but I mean, overall, it was a much cleaner race here tonight, so you had to employ a little bit of strategy, especially in terms of saving tire. How'd you outduel Bryce Rayner there at the end?
I'll be honest, I think there's a little bit more stress this week compared to last, but between trying to make sure that lap trucks are not going to hinder me at bad points. Honestly, this Team Conti Sim Performance truck, the setup is amazing, but goodness gracious, is this thing loose? I'm trying to exercise my left wrist here because it has felt more pleasant, shall we say. But nah, man, it's a charge from Bryce was definitely somewhat impeded by some lap trucks, which is unfortunate for him, unfortunate for competition. Obviously, it helps bank a win here, but this is one of those tracks that you love to win at because it really is all driver more than anywhere else, at least, and the setup helps a lot to make that driver look amazing. And the ability to save right rear was 100% of the name of the game here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, overall, to come out of the gate firing with 2 wins in a row, what does that do for you moving forward? How does that kind of get the momentum going early in the season?
It's an absolutely massive confidence boost, and maybe a bit of a shout to the field too. That we're here to play, and Team Conti 1, 2, 3, and 5, so 4 out of top 5 tonight. Just really is representative that we have just the best trucks in the business underneath us, and I think we'll have a lot to say in a lot of these races here, and it's just an honor to be a part of something not only as good as this Grindstone Developments Truck Series, but as much as it is for Team Conti Sim Performance, man. It's awesome, really.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Craig, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, huge shout out to you guys at PGR eSports. Fantastic job last week, Austin. You're incredible. Keep doing it. And thanks to everybody that shows up here every week for the races themselves. Thanks to the admin team and Team Conti Sim Performance once more. Absolutely amazing job to sweep the podium here. Thanks to Freeburn Hot Wings Morning Show, Sim Magic, Studio 3, Digital Sim Sports, Martin PC, Mom, Dad, and Sandiana. Thanks so much for watching and supporting me as well. And we'll pack it up here, and I think we're catching a flight. Are we catching a flight to Chicago next week? Do we know?
I think so. We are, yeah, headed to the Chicago street course. So, hey, if you can get it done there, that'll be a short track, 1.5 miles, and a road course. We'll have to see. But, Craig, we appreciate you talking to us tonight. We'll see you next week.
Copy that, brother. Take care.
All right, that's Craig Janzak, your race winner. We'll get ready to move on to your second place finisher. And, boy, I'll tell you what, he gives some good interviews and some really good insight, too. Tell you about just how much of a driver's track this is, and we saw that quite a bit here tonight. And with that, let's go ahead and now try to bring in your second place finisher here tonight. Another one of the Team Conti drivers, and that is Bryce Rayner. Bryce, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, you bring home a second place finisher tonight. We just had a chance to talk to, of course, Craig Janzak. You guys both running the Team Conti sets. They looked really fast here tonight, and man, I thought for a little while there you had a chance to get up there and get him, but not quite enough. What more did you need?
More tires, to be honest with you, but it was a fun race. I think I needed that first caution to not be a caution. I think I had a huge run later on in that stint to get by those guys, but cautions fell, and that's how it goes sometimes. But love racing with these guys. Love racing with the Conti guys, especially. Different setup for me rather than matching it with Craig's. So we had a little different comparison to each other, but still very fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Always like to see a bit different setups, but still run similar speed. Now, I know this is your first start of the season here tonight. We didn't get to see you last week. And so next week we head to the Chicago street course. How do you change mindsets from 1.5 miles to a street course?
No idea. It's going to be some practice next week for sure. But I like that course. I haven't really drived it all that well. But we'll see how it pans out, and I'm sure we will be fast again next week as well.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Bryce, before we let you head out here tonight to celebrate a good finish, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thank you, Austin, up in the booth. Thank you for hosting this and broadcasting it for all the fans to watch. Thanks to Team Conti, Digital Sim Sports on the roadside of things. Studio 3, Martin PC, everybody who accounts for our stuff on the track. and we'll wrap it up and get to Daytona for the 24-hour.
Sounds like a plan. Hey, again, congrats on the second place finish here tonight, Bryce. Good run, and we will see you next week at the street course.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, now that's going to bring us your third place finisher here tonight, and that is Randy Richard. Hey, Randy, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do. How you doing, sir?
Good. Well, you bring home a good third place finish here tonight, and after all the chaos last week, how does it feel to end in that position here tonight?
Oh, it feels great. Last week I was in a position to finish top 3 and kind of spun myself pushing it too hard and ended up, I don't know, was it 10th or 11th? But yeah, this week's set felt really well, really good. And, just trying to pace myself on Craig, and he's just better at saving tires. And then, of course, Bryce, he was a little bit better at tires than me too. But it was fun. We had fast set. I think we were all on variations of something similar, but it was definitely a good race.
We've heard, obviously, from your race winner, Craig Janczak, just how difficult this track was and how much of a driver's track it is. And how do you kind of make those adjustments mid-race and try to figure out if you're saving too much tire, not saving enough? How do you work with the set that you practice with all week when it comes to race time and we start to get cautions, long green flag runs, short runs? How do you make those adjustments?
Yeah, you just have to do, kind of see how you're feeling. And myself, I make small adjustments. I'm not the greatest at the adjustment game, but once you go in the pit, change those tires and kind of see where you're at, it gives you an idea if you made the correct adjustment or not. And tonight I was lucky enough to go the right direction and she felt good. And, I'd like to thank you up there in the booth, Austin, and Team Conti, Grindstone Developments. Just a fun group of guys here, and definitely enjoyed being in this series with these guys.
Absolutely. And Randy, it sounds like you got a couple of your shout outs out. Just to make sure, though, that you didn't miss anybody before we let you head out, celebrate that good finish. Was there anyone else you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just all these guys that have just helped me with the Team Conti guys from the days back in EPI when they brought me in, and just took me from not being a very good iRacer to the point I'm at now. Still room for improvement, but yeah, I just everybody I've been involved with on iRacing has been great and helpful. So
absolutely. And again, great run for you here tonight, Randy. We appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you next week.
All right, you have a good one. Thank you.
You as well. All right, well, that's going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway. This one a lot cleaner than it was last week. A great race overall, and a back-to-back win and a second win on the season for Craig Janczak. Well, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.